Yo, just like the Islam Makhachev versus Michael Chandler situation, I could only speculate and guess to see how much of it is marketing or how much of it is sincere. But I know I realize that Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal, the boxing match, is happening. I think this weekend, and I mean I haven't been keeping up with it. I should more. I mean, I've covered certain boxing events in the past, but I'm not like a huge in-depth rankings boxing dude like I am the UFC. But I'm moving on from that point. I just think that, although this streamer Neon, I've seen him around the internet quite a few times. He's got quite publicity and he is known for just stirring up controversy. A lot of people don't like him, and for good reason. He just seems like that guy that will antagonize you until you retaliate, and then he chooses to like say, "Oh, I'm sorry," or he hides behind his bodyguards and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of that stuff about him, and it's just like, okay, he's your typical, he'll poke the bear until the bear wakes up, and then shame the bear for doing what bears do, and obviously, like I on one hand, I firmly think that this could be a whole publicity stunt, maybe to sell the fight, especially with all the people who are following these streamers, whether it's kids or adults now, like with the Sneakos and the Neons and all those guys, right? You got to understand a lot of the people who find that kind of humor funny is mainly it just seems like it would be targeted towards little kids or something like that who think that kind of stuff's funny. A lot of like adults around my age I talk to at least don't really watch him or anything like that. Now I'm not saying that people my age don't, because I obviously just did, but I don't know. I'm looking at it a whole different way. There's a difference between an adult watching that whole situation play out versus a kid who's going to egg on that chat and doesn't understand like what could happen even if the situation is real. But also it's like, with current media kind of taking a switch around, we're finding new ways of selling stuff and promoting stuff. And if you think that streamers and UFC fighters aren't going to collaborate or cut a promo or something like that or do some theater, I mean, it's just something to consider. However, it is believable because for the rest of this, let's just assume it's all real. Why would you make fun of Nate Diaz, of all people? Because, like, I'm going to go at that, like, when I assume that it's real, I'm going to go at it with the Arman Sarukian situation. Like, why would you touch Arman Sarukian and expect him not to hit you, right? It's just kind of like if you were to antagonize anyone, if you want to try to antagonize or get under someone else's skin, you got to be ready for whatever comes your way. Just especially with Nate Diaz, because I mean, look, the weird part about this whole thing for me is that promos are interesting because you don't really just jump people with like law enforcement around and that kind of stuff. That's maybe in like Stockton, California, where there's cops that are like not around and the cameras aren't always rolling. But honestly, that's just, and especially if you knew who Neon was, it just kind of seems to me like, he would definitely press charges if something like that happened, even if he was just pulling a prank for his fans, because that whole incident is caught on tape. I mean, but hey, at face value, it would be a realistic promotion. That's actually pretty fun promotion if that's what it is. But I just don't see it. I just don't know who, not even Neon, would be dull enough to try to just disrespect Nate Diaz in front of a bunch of people and think something like that's not going to happen, because it's not just going to be Nate Diaz showing up to your front doorstep looking for you. He's going to be looking with his boys, okay? Even if Nate Diaz could probably take you and your boys all single-handedly, because despite his, UFC record, despite, him losing to the bigger names and everything, right? He is still a force to be reckoned with in any sort of fighting scenario. he's still bad. You know, he's still bad in a good way. He could still handle himself, and he's still just, you can't knock him out. And he's going to keep pushing forward. So just some streamer who, you know, doesn't have any real professional like UFC level MMA experience, of course, like that's kind of stuff's going to happen. But what did you expect when you try to like antagonize Nate Diaz? He's from the streets. Him and Nick, they don't take some of that. And you know what the funny thing is? Maybe they don't even need to take some of that to decide jumping you. I don't know if they've done any of that in their past, but hey, you know how that street life is one day they're just bored, they're sitting around, you know, eating some food, and then they see you walk by and they're like, hey, let's just rob this guy for fun. So, I mean, yeah, if this is real, I mean, if this is all real, I think that just kind of shows the level that all these YouTubers and streamers are at. But honestly, like I said, I'm taking this with a grain of salt where it's like we can't take this at face value just yet. It might just all be promotion, you know? It might just all be promotion. But other than that, I might actually just pick up this fight because this is that was pretty good. I actually did enjoy the alleged promo that I may or may not be real. But peace out. I'll see you on the next one. Stay safe and don't antagonize Nate Diaz.